The biggest mistake I see people make after a flare, they try to rebuild their gut microbiome too quickly, with too much, too soon, and they end up right back where they started. Hi, I'm Kate, and today we're talking about how to rebuild your gut microbiome after antibiotics or a flare. Now this matters because the weeks right after a flare or a round of antibiotics, well, that's your window. That's when you can either set yourself up for a stable remission or accidentally trigger another cycle of inflammation. Now, I learned this the hard way with my son. After his first major flare calmed down, I was so relieved that I jumped straight into gut healing mode. Bone broth, fermented foods, a high-dose probiotic, prebiotic fiber. I threw everything at him at once because I wanted him to recover faster. Well, you can guess what happened. Within a week, he was bloated, cramping, and his bowel movements were all over the place again. I was actually terrified we were heading into another flare, and I see this pattern constantly in my clients. Someone finally gets some relief, and immediately they're on kombucha, sauerkraut, and a probiotic with 30 different strains. Or they read about resistant starch and start eating cold potatoes, green bananas while their gut's still raw. Now, your gut wants to heal, but it needs a staged approach, not an avalanche. And here's what most people don't understand. After a flare or antibiotics, your gut lining is vulnerable and your microbiome ecosystem is in chaos. It's not about adding back as much diversity as possible, as fast as possible. It's about creating the conditions for beneficial bacteria to establish themselves without overwhelming a system that's still fragile. How could you think about it? Well, think about it like planting a garden or replanting a garden after a storm. You don't throw every seed in all at once. You prepare the soil, plant the hardiest things first, then gradually add more as the ecosystem stabilizes. The research backs this up. Studies on post-antibiotic recovery show that timing matters as much as what you take. Probiotics introduced too early can struggle to colonize. Foods introduced too fast can ferment in a gut that's not ready, creating gas, bloating, and inflammation that actually sets you back. The good news: when you rebuild in stages, you're working with your gut's natural healing timeline, not against it. So, let me walk you through the phase approach I use with my son and now use with my clients, and this is what actually works. Phase 1, week 1, calm and protect phase. In this first week after a flare, or you finish antibiotics, your only job is to calm inflammation and protect the gut lining. You're not rebuilding yet, you're simply stabilizing. So food-wise, keep it simple. Think bland, low residue. Eat white rice, well-cooked carrots, peeled zucchini, ripe bananas, smooth nut butter if you tolerate it, maybe some poached chicken or white fish. You're giving your gut almost nothing to work hard on. My son lived on rice porridge with a little cinnamon, steamed carrots, and scrambled eggs that first week. Boring, yes, but his gut needed it. Probiotic-wise, if you're going to take one, this is the time for a single strain, well-researched option. And the evidence for it post-antibiotics and in IBD is solid. Start with a low dose, even half a dose if you're sensitive. You're just introducing the idea of beneficial microbes, not flooding the system. And here's something I learned. Don't start the probiotic on the same day you finish your antibiotic. Give it 2 or 3 days. Let the antibiotics clear, let the inflammation settle, then introduce support. So phase 2. Now this is weeks 2 to 4, the gradual rebuild phase. This is where most people rush, but don't. This phase is about slowly expanding what your gut can handle, both in food and in microbial support. Food-wise, you're adding back one new food every 2 to 3 days, and you're looking for foods that feed beneficial bacteria without overwhelming your system. Start with cooked veggies, steamed green beans, roasted beetroot, baked sweet potato with the skin off, then maybe some blueberries or stewed apple. You're watching for how you feel. If something causes bloating, gas, or changes in your bowel movements, pull it back out. Don't push through. That's your gut telling you it's not ready yet. With my son, we added back foods in this order: Cook veggies first, then fruit, then small amounts of properly prepared grains like sourdough or oats, then eventually nuts and seeds. It actually took the full 4 weeks. Probiotics-wise, this is when you can consider adding a multi-strain option. But again, start low in your dose. And here's the key. Take it consistently. Same time, every day with food. You're trying to help these strains colonize, and that takes repetition and a stable environment. If you tolerate the probiotic well for a week and you're not having any other gut symptoms, you can think about adding in small amounts of fermented food, like a forkful of sauerkraut, a few spoonfuls of plain yogurt if you can tolerate dairy, not a whole bowl of kimchi, a taste. One more thing for this phase, consider adding in some gut lining support. We used a simple L-glutamine powder with my son, 5 grams in water twice a day. It's an amino acid that gut cells use for fuel and repair. The research on it for intestinal permeability is really promising, and it's actually really gentle as well. Now phase 3. Maintenance, the ongoing diversity phase. By week 5 and beyond, if things are stable, you're shifting into maintenance. This is about continuing to build microbiome diversity and resilience, but in a sustainable way. Food-wise, you're aiming for as much variety as your gut can handle. And remember, what your gut can handle. Different coloured veggies, different fibre sources, rotating your protein. The research shows that microbiome diversity is linked to dietary diversity, but only when your gut's ready for it. My son's maintenance diet now includes fermented foods a few times a week, a wide range of cooked and raw veggies, whole grains, legumes when he feels good, nuts and seeds. But we got there slowly. And even now, if he feels like something's a little bit off, we just pull back. Probiotic-wise, some people stay on a daily probiotic long-term. Others cycle on and off. I kept my son on his multi-strain for about 6 months. Then we switched to just using it during times of stress or if he had to take antibiotics for something else. Now, there's no one-size-fits-all here. You're listening to your body. And here's what I tell my clients. Maintenance isn't about perfection. It's about having a baseline that keeps you stable and knowing how to course correct quickly if something shifts. If you get a stomach bug or you're traveling and eating differently or you're stressed and things get wonky, you go back to phase 1 for a few days. Simplify, stabilize, then rebuild again. It's not starting over. It's just recalibrating. My son's gut now is completely different from when we started. He is actually in deep remission. He eats a really varied diet and he's resilient. But we didn't get there by doing everything at once in 1 week. We got there by respecting his gut's timeline, by watching and listening instead of pushing, by understanding that rebuilding a microbiome isn't a 2-week project. It's a process that unfolds over time. And when I look at my clients who do best long-term, they're the ones who learn this staged approach. They're not perfect, but they know how to support their gut through the vulnerable times, and they know how to recognize when they're ready for the next step. That's what sustainable remission actually looks like. If this helped, share it with someone who's just coming out of a flare or finishing antibiotics. They need to hear it. And if you want more personalized guidance on rebuilding your gut, what probiotics might work for your specific situation, how to navigate food reinterruptions, or how to troubleshoot when things don't go to plan, then that's exactly what we do in my one-on-one coaching and in the Crohn's Method community. So I'll see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day.